The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. And finally, you'll get a free recorded audio training that will install unbelievable attitudes for success and wipe out any limiting beliefs. So if you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Welcome to the Influencer's Edge. This is the place where you come to get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques to leapfrog over the pack in sales, persuasion, and influence. Be sure you visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, tune in, and enjoy today's episode. Okay, welcome to the Influencer's Edge. I am so excited to have this guest on today. I want you all to welcome Jaden Hummel. Hello, Jaden.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Of course. Now, full disclosure, I met Jaden at an event about 3 weeks ago. Was it about 3 weeks ago?
Yep.
Instantly took a liking to her instantaneously after 20 minutes of talking to her. I knew she would be someone who would help me as a teacher and a coach. Further full disclosure, I actually joined her program. So Jaden, when it starts, no one ever knows when these shows are going to be watched, but when it starts in a month, you're going to have me on your hands. You may come to regret that one.
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, so let me briefly go through your biography and then we'll get right to it. I usually don't even finish the biographies, but yours is a really short one. So Jaden is a transformational coach. Let's start by defining that word transformational. What does transformational mean to you, Jaden?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that either, which is awesome. And transformation really just means, you come in from one place, and when you go through whatever the process is, or whether it's working with me or something else, you come out a totally different person, not only externally in the things that you might be doing in your life, but also internally.
Okay, so as opposed to an incremental change, like all of a sudden, instead of being afraid of speaking in public, now you can speak in public. It's not about a change in the skills level. It's about a change in your deep identity.
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
Okay, cool. Transformational coach specializing in helping entrepreneurs create extraordinary lives and fulfilling careers through the power of alignment. Wow, that's a pretty tall order. So let's talk about alignment. People talk about confidence, people talk about setting goals, and I know I've already been through part of your course, you talk about some of that, but what do you mean by alignment? It sounds like a pretty extraordinary word, but let's define it.
Yeah. Alignment just really means we all have, right, when we come into this life or we go through life, we have our truth, the things that make sense to us, our core values, the things we want to say, the things that we want to do. And alignment really means that you're living a life that is congruent with what you actually want for yourself and what you actually feel. And also, to take it a step further, living in alignment is living in alignment with your body and your nervous system, so that all parts of you really are working together so that you can do the things that you want in your life. And, with goal setting, and I forget the other thing that you said, but goal setting and this and that and the other stuff that we usually see, it's still so important, but to be done on top of a foundation of alignment is when you can really create not only a really incredible life, but one that actually feels good for you.
Okay, let me dig a little bit further into this term alignment. So
To you, does alignment mean just being confident? Does alignment mean being charismatic, sure of yourself? Because there are plenty of people. Let me just say something, because I've been doing transformational work for 33 years. I think longer than you've been alive, and not to pull rank on you here. And I've found that many people, when they get what they want, create a disaster in their life. They're actually more damage, more blowback and collateral damage to them and the people they love than if had they just stayed put.
Yeah.
So let's talk about alignment and getting what you want, because a lot of people talk about getting what they want, but they don't talk about how that aligns with more important things, with what we call ecology in the world of NLP, to make sure that you're not getting hurt.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because the way that we really look at the alignment is it's not an end goal. And that's the most important thing. It's not like, hey, I'm coming into this world or I'm coming into this line of work and my goal is to be aligned, to be to the end destination. Because just like you said, right, if we get to this end place, it's like, well, then what else is there? Right? Like, what else is after that? So, alignment is not this black and white thinking, not this end goal. It's actually a way that you move through life. So, it's an action in a way that you can train yourself and start to move through life so that you're, constantly making decisions that align with your values, constantly setting goals that are not only anchored in, what you want externally in life, but also in what you want to feel on the inside. So it's this really, holistic approach that's not a destination or a result. It's more so how you move through life.
So let me throw a challenge at your feet.
Mm-hmm.
So having done transformational work with people and people who set goals and stuff, oftentimes what people think they want is being looked at through a lens of trauma. I want to address this because I know you address trauma, so I'm sort of throwing a softball for you to bat it out of the park here. But I have found that people who are traumatized will go, "This is what I want," and what they want is actually either looking through a narrow keyhole instead of a picture window or a panorama, or what they want is quite destructive. So let's talk
Yeah.
about, you work with entrepreneurs. So how do you help entrepreneurs see their trauma and give them how they heal from it? So they're looking at, so they can find their actual values and their actual goals, as opposed to their goals based on their trauma.
Yeah. So good.
I bet you never heard that one before.
No, I love it. And it's so amazing because, a lot of what you see, or a lot of what I've seen in the world of coaching, whether it's personal development or business coaching or personal coaching or you name it, right? You have this goal and you work toward it no matter what, right? You're like, everything on the line. I've got this goal. I'm going to figure out how to make it work. And when you look at something through the lens of alignment, there it's a constant question of asking yourself a lot, like every single step of the way. I probably ask myself this 100 times a day of, if this doesn't feel good, what would feel better? And as we go through life, right, you can feel something might feel a little bit off, right? Or you're like, okay, this is like sort of not it in different areas. And sometimes whatever it is that you're doing just totally isn't it. It's totally not aligned. Or sometimes it's just, some parts of the work we don't fully and completely enjoy. But the process of it is really asking yourself and being in inquiry with yourself all the time around, what is feeling good in my life? If this doesn't feel good, how could it feel better? How can I just move 1 degree over so that this thing, feels a little bit better? And when we ask ourselves those questions, it's going to uncover, one of two things or many more. Is either it's not the right thing for you and it just doesn't feel good, or there's a different way that you want to do it, or there's something, in your past or some sort of a trauma that you can look at and rearrange to make the thing feel better. So I don't always automatically go back and look at, okay, let's dig up your trauma right away. The first question is, how can I just enjoy this more? How can I make this feel better for me? And you ask that question enough times, and sometimes you'll be met with, having to go back and look at where you might want to rearrange things or look at your trauma to create new patterns and new experiences.
Pushback time. I told you there'd be pushback. I love challenging
Yeah.
broken minds. So here we go. A lot of people would say this, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, this is great. I went to get coffee with someone who I also met at a networking event, and I did the pushback to him for about an hour. So I'm glad to be on the other side.
Cool. Be on the other side of it. A lot of people would say that today we live in a society of instant gratification where all people are doing is asking, does this feel good in the moment? And the second thing I would say, that's part A. Part B is we are in business. We're entrepreneurs. We know that some of the time we have to do things that we don't like doing. We just can't farm them out. So how does this whole thing of, does this feel, how can I make this feel better in the moment? What was your question? Does this feel right in the moment?
Yeah.
What would you say to that? Those are two good pushback.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a big question, right? Because there's so many places you can go with that. And sometimes you might ask yourself, like, okay, this doesn't feel good. How could it feel better? And you kind of go through. So let's say you're setting some external goal or it's business related. And let's say you're doing marketing and you don't really like marketing, right? You might look at it and go, the first thing that you look at through the lens is there any place where what you're doing is essentially not authentic to who you are? And in something like marketing, which I don't know about the audience who's listening to this, but a lot of people in my world, that's like their least favorite part is the marketing, right? So it doesn't mean you just get rid of the marketing completely, right? But it's like, is there a way that your message could be more authentic to who you are? Or is there a way that you could, deliver the thing in a way that feels better? Is there another sort of route that you can take? Because what happens so often and really what we avoid and what we don't see in this work is, so often people just push through because they're like, I've got to do it. And then I'll just get to the other side and it'll be done. And then you look back on your life and you go, well, the whole time you were just pushing through and just trying to figure it out. That was actually your life. Right.
Oh
So
my God, that's profound. Say it again for the entrepreneurs and the business people and the sales people and all the other people who think it's about push, 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 push. Say, please, Jaden, that was lovely.
Yeah. It's, we want to push through and we're like, I'll just, get it done and get to the other side and cram this stuff or throw all my emails on my plate and do all this stuff because you think you're going to get there and be somewhere else. But that whole time you're cramming through and pushing through, that is your life.
And so this again goes contrary. One of the things I like on influencers is we tend to bring on guests who think outside the box and push back, or I like to say people who color outside the lines and disconnect the dots and mess up the sandbox, which is what I love about you, because I know you do that.
Yeah.
We've really spoken for more than I think an hour, but I including this conversation, I already know that. You see, this goes to what you just said. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
It also goes against so much of the self-help wisdom when it comes, the American work ethic, work hard, work hard, work hard, work hard. That's number one. Also entrepreneurs, just persist. You never are a loser. You don't fail. You're not a failure until you quit and just keep going and going and going. And they talk about Thomas Edison, who failed 1,000 times where he found the light bulb and blah, 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 blah. But this is going contrary to that and saying, whoa, 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 whoa. If it's all about push, push, push at the end of your life, all you did was push, push, push.
Yeah. Yeah. And
how did you come to that insight, Jaden? Was this something personal? Because I know from your, you looked up and to the left and to your right. Oh boy, this is a story. Should I tell it or should I not tell it? Was that your thought?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of this stuff is a lot of the framework of this work is something that I've just sort of intuitively known my whole life is why would we do anything, that we really don't enjoy? Like, I really always feel like there's a better way to do things. We can always figure out a way to do things that feels good for us. And, looking at, oh my gosh, like I don't even know where to. So there's a part of me that I've always known that. There's a part of me that has always felt that. And then just looking
That's a
and
great blessing, Jaden.
yeah.
That's a blessing too, and a blessing for the people who you bring to the world for that. That's a great blessing.
Yeah, it was funny. I had a spirit medium session with Raquel, who hosted the event where you and I met, and she said that that was one of the gifts that I came into life with, or something similar to that. So now I know that it's sort of a gift that I came into life with. But you know, you just look at this pattern of completing goals, and you can look at your life and you look back and go, okay, what were the best memories that you
That's
had?
the goals.
You know, like some of my favorite memories are like one of my favorite memories that always comes to mind is sitting in the back of my car in Mount Shasta in the mountains, just enjoying life. Right. So if you actually look at, and of course, making money, accomplishing goals, that's all important stuff too. But if you really look at, what were the parts of life, and if you're listening to this, like, what are your favorite memories? They're probably not when you checked off a big goal or did this big, incredible thing. It's these small moments in life. And we just can't bypass those. Because that's really what we have and what we're working with all the time. And with looking through everything from a lens of alignment, it's not about, getting to this next place. It's about looking at what you can control in every day, right? And it's like you're gonna have if you're someone, you're like, oh, I want to have this dream house, or I always think about houses because I like houses, right?
Yeah,
It's
you
like you'll
have a house
end
flipping, you own a house
up
company.
yeah, right. But it's like you'll end up in this dream house or wherever you want to go in your life. Like you're gonna get to wherever you want to go, and you're gonna look back and you're gonna be the person who you created along the way. So do you want to look back and be someone who just push through, push through, push through, and then you're sitting in this house you love and you don't even know what to do with yourself, right? Or did you really, thoughtfully create the kind of life that you want to live and actually make space for the things that are aligned to you? Because I really believe that there is so much more room for that. And when we look and when we do life through alignment, we really prioritize the things feeling good for us, it actually leads to more anyway.
You know, my Jewish mother, I think you had a Jewish mother too. You're also,
Mm-hmm.
you don't mind if I reveal that.
Yeah,
It's
all good.
all good. My Jewish mother would say, alignment, alignment. Just put your nose to the grindstone. Quit complaining. Life has suffering in it. You're never going to get what you want all the time because life is suffering. And sympathy is between shit and syphilis in the dictionary. Terrible messaging. But let
Yeah.
me talk about, she had a point.
Uh-huh.
And the point she had was that life contains some serious suffering where it's not about how can I make this. When you talked about how can I feel better in the moment, when my mother passed after a slow death from cancer, there was no good moments there. That was shit.
Totally. Yeah. And that, this goes again with alignment. It's not, so glad you mentioned that, right? Because it's not an end goal and it is not this pedestal, golden, sparkly, like alignment, like I finally made it. Nothing's bad happening in my life. It means that you're living a life that is authentic and true to who you are. So if life happens, right? I work with this one client and she has all these, things she wants to do for herself. And she's at home taking care of her parents, and all her stuff is on hold. It's life. Like we all have life that happens to us, right? And it's not going to be perfect all the time, but it's being authentic to who you are. And in the lens of entrepreneurship, a lot of times, right, it's being able to do something in a way that feels better, or to set a goal that actually feels more aligned, or to go bigger in what you want for yourself. But in other situations, it could be giving yourself what you need, being honest with yourself, being able to communicate in a way, because when you're really honest with how you feel and what you want, and you can communicate that out into the world, that creates so much clarity and space in your life. And it's going to make whatever shitty thing is happening to you not feel as heavy when you yourself feel clear.
Now, here's the thing. Being honest with yourself is a muscle you have to develop, because it can be terrifying. Delusion is a really great mechanism to make your life temporarily more comfortable. Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
You understand? I think that's where having a really good coach who can gently say, hey, you need to take here's some tools to compassionate. I like to say this, Jaden, that my practice of compassion gives me the courage to see with clarity. That without that practice of compassion, which I do through my meditation every morning, I would not have the courage to have the clarity to look at the things that are going on in my life. Because every time I feel something is crushing me, the first thing I do is take a pause and ask myself, what is the kindest thing I can do for myself right now? How can I treat myself as the most loving human being and give the love to the way I would someone I love more than anyone in the world.
Yeah.
So what would you have to say about the role of self-compassion and in responding authentically and having that courage to be honest with yourself?
Yeah, I mean, at the core of it, I think that's everything. I mean, I think that's really what it is that, we strive toward and work toward. And you said it's, something that you have to train. And that's why I call it a training program, because it's like you're training yourself all of the time to be compassionate with yourself, to be understanding. And, at the core of it, that's really what it is. Because when you're at that place, you will start to make decisions that make more sense for you. You'll start to choose things in your life, that actually feel better. And, if something, let's just say something really unfortunate does happen, right? Or you're going through a less exciting part of life, you can look at, there's so many other pieces at play of the kind of person who you've become, like your emotional resiliency, what you have on your table, what you have in your life. So it's the way that we show up to all of these situations, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant situations in life, are going to change things.
Love the answer. I want to talk to you about, I've been going through your program. We don't start for another month, but I never do this. I like what you do so much. I'm actually going through, it's like 3 video lessons.
Mhm.
And one of the things you said, I said, I've never heard this before.
Huh.
I'm going to corner the woman on this one because it's so brilliant. You said we tend to what's the word? Pedalize?
Pedestal.
We put the tend to pedestalize or put our goals on a pedestal.
Yeah, that's
I've
it.
never heard that one before. Unpack that. I don't know exactly what you mean by that, but I knew, okay, when you get her on the hot seat, you're asking her to unpack this one because this is novel.
Yeah. So good. I wonder exactly, I'm trying to think of how exactly I said it in that training, but we tend to do this thing, right, in life where we think about something that we want for ourselves. So if you're listening to this, right, and you think about something that you want for yourself, the first thing that we do is we look at the goal or the vision or whatever it is as something that is on a pedestal, or in that way, it's like we have to become a different kind of person to get it, or we have to work really hard for it, because all of a sudden this goal that we have in mind is sort of above us. Is the way that we think about goals or things that we're working toward in life. And I wonder if this is what I was talking about on that training, but it's interesting. If you look at your life, we have goals and we have minimum standards that we want for ourselves.
I love this. Pause.
Yeah.
Say it, please.
Yeah. We have goals and we have minimum standards. And, you can look around the world and there's people who have a minimum standard right now of not having a house and being able to eat one meal a day. And there's people who have a minimum standard of, I don't know, 47 houses and $1 billion in their bank account, right? There's people who have different minimum standards, and you can look at your life and go, what are your minimum standards? And I guarantee subconsciously, right, you have a minimum amount that needs to be in your bank account, or a minimum amount of niceness that your house has to be, or a minimum amount of stress in your relationships, or whatever that is, because it's what you're comfortable with and it's what you see in your life. And when we have this minimum standard, if we ever dip below it, we go into like total disarray, because we're like, oh my God, this is less than, what I'm expecting. So if I'm used to living in a house that's comfortable and it's heated, and then all of a sudden I didn't have a house anymore, I would really quickly personally be able to figure out how to get myself back in a house, whether it was looking online to find one, or making the money that I needed to get myself to one, because it's so in my wheelhouse and it's just so what I know, that I would immediately get myself back to that place. So then we have our minimum standards that they're easy for us to accomplish no matter what. And if you really pay attention, it is fascinating. Money is the easiest one to look at because it's a tangible number. Like, I guarantee, right, there's a certain amount of money that sits in one of your accounts. Like for me, it's my checking account. And no matter what I do, it's the same number, because it's just a number that makes me feel comfortable. I always get back to it. And then you have your goal. And right.
This is so good. This is gold.
Yeah. And then you have your goal, and it's way above you. It's way up here. And oftentimes we don't reach our goals, or at least we don't reach them as quickly as we want to. I mean, if you look at the world of, how people set their New Year's resolutions and they don't do it. I'm not talking about the person who's listening to this and you're like, I'm a high achiever, I set goals, I complete them. But typically speaking, right, people have these goals and they just never really get there. And
How much of that, can I pause you there? Because I wonder how much of that is just making bad decisions. I'll tell you why I say this. When I used to give, again, the show's about you, not me, but back when I used to give talks, I would say to people, how many millions of copies of books have been published in the last year on the subjects of losing weight, finding love, and getting rich? And people would yell out 50 million, 100 million. Then I would say, why don't we see 100 million skinny rich people with madly in love with their ideal partner? There's a disconnect there. And I love the word that you used. I've never heard this word before. Another unique term. You said we go into disarray.
Yeah.
You didn't say panic. You didn't say fear. You said disarray, which is a completely new piece of technical vocabulary. So, Jaden, you genius, what do you mean by disarray?
Yeah, it's so funny. I'm like, God, I should Google that word. I use it all the time. But what I mean is that, it's sort of like panic in a way, but it's, just being like, I picture this state of kind of this immediate scrambling to, oh my God, how am I going to get back to this place where I was before, right? So if what you're used to in your life, and a lot of this is our nervous system and what we're comfortable with, but if what you're used to all of a sudden was gone, that thing is part of your identity in a way. It's part of your comfort. You will very quickly figure out how to get back. And it's interesting because, across humans, we think, oh, it's hard to make money, or it's hard to do this, or it's hard to do, or whatever. You look at but some people, that's really locked in as one of their minimum standards that's important to them. And when something's really anchored in as your minimum standard, you find a way to do it no matter what, because in your mind, it's like, this is the minimum that I'm willing to accept. And that is a lot more powerful than a goal. Going, this is the minimum I'm willing to accept, rather than, oh my God, I hope one day.
So outside the box, you're really frying brains and disconnecting the dots here, which is knowing your minimum standard and saying, you said something, again, I really am paying attention to your training. You said, I cannot imagine living my life any other way. Is that the question?
Yeah.
Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I've never heard that one. Hold on a minute. I'm giving you credit for genius. Be quiet. I've always heard look at that. I've always heard I am this, I will be this, and I will be that, and blah, 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 and I'll achieve that. But this whole thing is what is the minute? What was the question? The statement, I cannot imagine living my life any other way. That is a powerful commitment. That's not I want this or I'm going to be this. This is, I can't even imagine living my life. And I have to tell you, when my first response when I thought of that was excitement and fear, because I'm just telling you, I'm being completely vulnerable with you and transparent. That can be a scary thing to say. And I'm a very confident person, even cocky. You will, when you get to know me, you'll go, come on, Paul, just stop being so full of yourself. But that's a very, very powerful. Where did you learn that one?
Yeah, I kind of look at life in a little bit of a mathematical way of like some things always automatically work and some things don't. So I look at my life and anything in my life that I have that mentality around, like not willing to have it any other way. You can look at actually I went without a car for 6 months one time. There's things in my life like a cell phone impossible. Like, of course, I could live without a phone, but for the sake of the example, I could not imagine myself without a phone. There is absolutely no way. It's my business. It's this, it's that, it's the other. If I was phoneless, if I woke up tomorrow with no phone and no money and no nothing and no resources, I bet you within an hour or two, I would find a way to, even if I had to go ask someone to give me the money, I would figure it out because I just can't imagine myself living life any other way. So from that place, I'm going to figure it out. It's automatic that I'm going to figure it out.
Jaden, it's an extremely powerful commitment. I've never heard it phrased that way before. So again, sim salabim, salam to you. I want to circle back to something. I think here's something that will be food for your mind. I have a dear friend, Chase Hughes. Chase has been on the show before. You would find his work both fascinating and terrifying because Chase is someone who's worked with intelligence agencies, law enforcement, and the military, teaching them interrogation techniques and how to detect deception and brainwashing and all sorts of cool stuff. He's a cool cat. But Chase said something in one of his sessions. He quoted one of the fathers of modern advertising, a guy named Edward Bernays, who wrote a book called Propaganda. Edward Bernays was the person who got Americans eating bacon. Bacon essentially is the fat off the back of a pig. It's disgusting, but he convinced people it was great breakfast food. And Bernays said, the purpose of all marketing is to get people to compare themselves to other people. So this idea of constant comparison as something that gets in the way of our being authentic. We are living, so what I'm trying to point out to you is we're living in a system, an ecology, if you will, where we're constantly being bombarded. We're embedded like a fish in water that goes against what you're teaching, which is tune into yourself, ask yourself for real, what is the minimum standard for me? And I absolutely cannot imagine my life being any other way. We're taught, no, constantly bombarded. You have to compare yourself with other people. And if you're not there, you have to buy something. Otherwise, you'll feel bad. And then you have to keep buying more and more and more. So what I'm trying to get at is, isn't a lot of your work context dependent? If we went to a culture that was not consumer driven, say so, I don't want to idealize Eastern cultures or any other culture because every culture has its flaw. But if we lived in a culture that was a village where people took care of each other and there was no such thing as comparison, do you think this kind of work would be so necessary?
It's interesting. And the world that, we're living in over here, I think we really can't escape a lot of the capitalism and things and the way in which the world is. And I really,
nor am I saying we should.
Oh, no, yeah. But I really think that, that totally shapes a lot of our survival. Like I'll say this, and I don't believe it to be 100% true, but we really can't live, in our society if we completely go against the grain, or at least we can't live a normal, like acceptable life if we totally go against the grain. Like we have this structure, that we really have to sort of figure out and adapt to. And to answer your question, a lot of the goal setting work is, it is context based around really creating things, whether it's having time freedom or having money, or, creating something that feels really good for you. And the way I look at it is that we set goals as humans to feel emotions. So the emotions that we're feeling in this society have to do with that context that's around us. But with setting goals to feel emotions, it connects us, if we do it properly or we do it in alignment, it connects us closer to who we are. So our goals are not only a way to, feel emotion and move forward in the world and feel accomplished. Like, it's really important to feel accomplished, but it's also, bringing us closer to who we are. So I would say that you could apply the same concepts. It would just be on different types of goals and different types of outcomes.
Here's the reason. Now I'm setting the reason I put this up. There's always wheels within wheels for me thinking, which you'll see, is I've been to so many success seminars, and yeah, you can do it. And the people start out showing pictures, video, film of all their multiple homes and the Lamborghinis and their driveway and their boats. And they say, who wants more money? Who wants to make 10 million? But not one person in there, when they set their goals, says, you know what I want to do? I want to bring clean drinking water to the billions of people who don't have it. I want to do everything I can to end starvation and hunger in sub-Saharan Africa. I am determined to stop violence against children and blah. It's all me, selfish, 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 narcissistic. Do you get where I'm driving? And it hurts my heart. When I go, I stop going because it hurts my heart, and I wanted to yell. I had to control myself to not yell it out. You're all a bunch of fucking narcissists. Do you feel me?
Oh, completely. Yeah, I would probably run faster out of one. I don't think I'd ever find myself in one. And if I did, I would run out so quickly. I completely feel you. And, it's interesting because where I work with, I'm so lucky to work with a lot of people who really feel connected to, why they're here in the world. And a lot of that comes down to wanting to make the world a better place, or wanting to share their gifts with the world. Like, I have clients who are musicians and they want to share the music, or clients who do this or that, or even if their business isn't about helping people, they want to make, more money or have more freedom so that they can show up for the world in a better place. It is always a part of our conversation. And if I could give a shit how much money anyone makes who's in my world, I literally could care less. It means nothing to me. Like, it's awesome. It's like good accomplishment. It's good.
You're buying the dinners.
yeah. But it's just, that's not what it's about. And I think this conversation is, well, what is it really about for you? So if you go back to the dream home, right? It's like, okay, you get a couple $1,000,000 if you're living in Southern California, and you buy your dream home and you're there. But why did you even want it in the first place? What is it that's going to do for you? And we really need to ground ourselves in the reasons why we want to do things. So, I'll use this example. If I think of the house that I want to be in, why do I want that house? Because I want to feel good in the morning. I want to be able to have a garden. Which is better for the environment. I want to be able to have family and friends and community. So I'm not focused on how am I going to, buy the house. I'm focused on how can I do more of the gardening and do more of the community and be more of show up in the world the way I want to show up, so that when I inevitably get there, boom, there it is. And that's just the cherry on top. So if the money is the goal, I would challenge that there's actually probably something else.
Very evolved. That's very evolved. I love that with your clients and the people you serve, that you're willing to challenge them and push push back. I've been doing training and teaching forever. I'm very interruptive, as you've seen in this interview. I'm interruptive. I hope not too much. It's done to provoke good answers. I'm interruptive, and I push back on clients, but I think that's fabulous that you'll do that. I think you have to be to create to assist people in creating transformation.
Yeah, and I haven't seen many places, and I'm sure they exist, but many places in this field where, I've noticed in a lot of programs or things like that, I would look good on paper if my clients made more money and they did this, and I could use their testimonials and that stuff. I don't care about that as much as how are you feeling, right? Because the worst thing that I think we could ever all possibly do, like we mentioned earlier, is you make the money or you do the thing or you have the business and you get there and you're fucking miserable. And I'm willing to stand for that in my life, in other people's life. And I just think that that is the most important thing. And if we don't push through and we connect to ourselves and what do I really want? What's really feeling good to me in terms of what I'm doing? You're never going to get there one day and realize, oh my God, I just wasted the last however many years of my life. Because the actual thing, I'll say this, is what we actually want is not money. We want energy.
Freedom, choice.
Yeah, we want to feel good. We want energy. You
Good.
think money will give us that, right? So if you focus on what you actually want over, the external goal that you have, it's going to get you so much further in life and you're going to be so much happier.
Takes a lot of clarity, a lot of courage. And you notice I just didn't even make it through your biography. I went through one sentence of your biography and we didn't even ask any of the questions that we put on the form, but we have a few more minutes if you want you to address those. So let's that. I love talking to you. This is fantastic.
Great.
You work with entrepreneurs. So you work with entrepreneurs, Jaden Hummel. Are you a business coach?
No. I work because it's funny because we were, just talking about this is I find that it has to be, I work with people around their businesses, but it has got to be a holistic approach. And there's no business goal that is more important than how good you're feeling. And that doesn't make a good business coach. It's like when I started flipping houses, I worked with my dad and he was like, I'm not a good house flipper because I'm not going to put a, shitty kitchen remodel in. I'm going to do like the nicest job that I possibly can. So I'm not going to get much of a profit on flipping houses because I'm not going to take that quick route. And with business coaching, the reason why I don't consider myself a business coach is because I don't see a container in which we can only look at what are your external business goals and how can we make this work? Because someone might come into my world with a business idea and we'll figure out, you know what? That wasn't really it. And maybe they end up doing something else or not even owning a business. So it's really about alignment and not everybody's path is that.
I want to turn to something else because listen, I'm a pretty astute human. I watched your webinar and I follow you on social media. That webinar was so freaking convincing. You structured it so beautiful. And you're a really good entrepreneur because I saw how you put, and you get these bonuses, the bonus goes away, and this bonus you get a live call with me, and here's the pricing. You know how to do the value stack and all that. So let no one be fooled. Jaden Hummel also knows the ins and outs of actual marketing. You know them quite well. You've had some good coaches on how to do effective webinars, and you told me you have I know I'm almost 100% certain you told me you have a math brain. You have a really good mathematical brain.
I do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm actually just flabbergasted by the whole thing. I don't know what else to. Oh, I know, just a little trivial detail. When I first met you, you were wearing that little silver stainless. Is it stainless or silver? What is that symbol? Can you show?
Yeah, it's actually this woman I met in Bali. Her company is called Elpin, which is actually nipple spelled backwards, and she
Oh my goodness.
and she makes really beautiful jewelry that is nature and like the female body, and she just does like really 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 cool work. And I met her in Bali, and I wear this pin because it feels like armor, and I just love it.
Bali's on my bucket list. And the other thing on my bucket list, my big, huge dream that I'm going to discuss with you when we start,
Yeah.
when we go into what's the name of your program?
Exponential alignment.
Exponential alignment. My really big dream is to do retreats with fantastic people like you, like a super team, like super friends. I used to do that way back when in my career, and just bring people who are so unique and so powerful and so outside the box, and bring us all together as superheroes, a super Justice League of America in an exotic location. I'm going to make that happen. I hope you have my side.
So good.
All
It's
right.
so important. Okay, I want to say one more thing about when you were talking about me in the webinar, because I'm not someone who's really into marketing or webinars, but the reason why, right? It's like you look and you're like, okay, there's ways to do things here. And the reason why I can use a webinar approach or use the methods or whatever, and that actually feels really good to me, is because the information or whatever I'm providing is so aligned and it's so good. So it's like there's always an equation of how we can make things feel good for us. And that's really what I wanted to say.
Very good. Let me just say, it was not the traditional webinar where you give them the what, but you don't give any how. You had some how in there. You had some meat in there. You gave some good stuff. Jaden, everyone's going to want to stay in this conversation with you. Everybody. How do they stay in the conversation with you? First of all, you need to get and follow Jaden. I didn't have my coffee because I wanted to rush and make sure I was very prepared for this. You need to all follow her Instagram. She always has very inspirational, cool stuff with little tidbits that you didn't think about, and shows video of her awesome life that I'm so envious of. I always bless people who have wonderful things. To me, envy is the number one curse to moving through the world in a way where you really have a blessed and productive and good life. So bless you for your success in every possible way. It's inspirational. How do people stay in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to connecting with anyone who came from this show. I can't imagine the amazing people who are in your world. Instagram is definitely awesome. That's a great way to connect. I'm on there daily. My Instagram, I'm sure it'll be in the show notes, but it's my name and middle initial. It's at Jaden B. Hummel on Instagram. And I also have a podcast. So if you like this and you want to hear more of me talking about trainings and things and kind of coffee style chats and bringing other people on, my podcast is called
Podcast. Wow, I wonder who might make a good guest for your podcast.
Aren't you on? Did we schedule you?
No.
Really?
I never got an invitation. No.
Are you sure? Okay, well, stay tuned because we're going to do a podcast together on my show that I thought we had already scheduled.
No, we never discussed it. All right, Jaden, I love you already. You're amazing, fantastic. I said I'll be utterly transparent. I was thinking at the beginning of the year, I said I need another 2007. 2007 was a banner year for me. I met the woman who to this day has been the love of my life. We stopped dating in 2009, but we're still best friends. Whenever we sit down, I always say to her, every time I'm with you, I understand why I fell in love with you, because it's a reminder. And she's remained such a precious person in my life. I met the person who runs my business in 2007. I met someone who's like a sister to me, my friend Sherry, who does all my bookkeeping. I got my own business started after I had a bad business divorce that just took off like a rocket. I'm thinking, I need to meet at least one person in 2023 that will make it a banner year. And I just slipped under the wire with you. So for coming into my life, and thank you for being on the show. And if you all think that I've been just fanboying all over Jaden, it's my show, so fuck y'all. And stay tuned. I wanted to stay on with me after we go off the air because I just want to chat with you a little bit. Thanks again for you all being here for another wonderful episode of The Influencer's Edge, and we'll see you next time.
The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform in any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. And finally, you'll get a free recorded audio training that will install unbelievable attitudes for success and wipe out any limiting beliefs. So if you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Thank you for tuning in to the Influencer's Edge, where you get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques so you can leapfrog over the pack in sales, influence, and persuasion. Remember to visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com to enjoy even more great episodes like this one. We look forward to seeing you again on the Influencer's Edge Show.